I'm half Mexican. My mother's from Michoacan, and my dad's Jewish.
I try I try to identify like pretty evenly with what I am. Like it's a little harder to identify with the Mexican half because all my family's in Mexico.
I don't really identify with my race much because I'm biracial, so it's kind of hard for me to identify with either one. The common phrase is like I'm too black for the white side of me, or I'm too white for the black side.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people sort of see being like, biracial or from a different background or culture as sort of like a disadvantage in some way, but I think it's really cool.
Anyone who has a different skin color is seen as like, oh, that's a black person or that's a Mexican person or whatever. Whereas white people are just, oh, that's a person.
I'm white, and so like I've never been discriminated against, and stereotypes about white people aren't really very harmful. It's just like, yeah, I really do like pumpkin spice.
When people make jokes about like mocking Indian accents around school and any like Indian stereotypes about butter chicken or computer science or curry, I don't really appreciate it, and I do feel a little like wary of it and disappointed.
I think for the most part, the students on our campus do a pretty good job of speaking up about that and saying like, hey, that joke was kind of racist. You shouldn't say that. But there are definitely some cases where people don't feel like they can safely speak up for themselves, and I think that's something we can always work on.
I obviously hear jokes and stuff, but personally I feel like it's kind of it's kind of nice that race isn't too taboo a topic, that people are able to joke about it and talk about it openly.
I don't like the pushing aside or making jokes of stuff like the Black Lives Matter or the N word commonly used like as a friendship word. I don't really care for that much.
I know a lot of the time people will make jokes about race that they intend just to be funny and lighthearted, but can really irritate people of that race.
People always tell like racist jokes, and people just like casually throw around racial slurs a lot of times, and like it's not okay, but no one's stopping it.
It's even more disappointing is that I don't say anything about it. I just laugh along with them.
There are messages and images that are put upon especially people of different races that tell them, no, you're not just a person because of who you are. You are this, you're that.
I just don't like being associated with being Indian.
And I feel like part of that is due to, in America, I'm not sure whether it's minority or majority, but certainly plurality white population. That becomes sort of like the norm.
We live like a place that's mostly dominated by like white people. Like there's white people everywhere, and it's easier to talk in English because everyone speaks English, because like there's a bunch of races that come here that they all have to eventually learn English, so it's a lot easier to be a white person here.
A couple months ago, I was denied a job. I'm a babysitter. I like to babysit kids after school.
In third grade, during an almond play, I tried lightening my skin.
And I had gone to a woman's house to babysit the kids. It was for a few hours. I had gone to the door. She opened the door and kind of just stared. And I was like, okay, what are you here for? And I told her I'm here and I'm so-and-so for your babysitting job. And she goes, oh, I don't need the babysitter anymore.
And I mixed turmeric and like lemon powder, and I sat in the shower and like scrubbed like my whole entire skin to lighten it, but I just ended up turning yellow.
And like closed the door. So when I left, I went home, waited a couple of days, and I called her husband back. And he said that his wife told me the babysitter never showed up. And then I had talked to him for a few hours, and he ended up coming up that his wife was kind of prejudiced against like African Americans. So I ended up losing that whole job.
And then the day of the play, like I was dressed in all white, and then my whole entire hands were yellow instead of having lighter skin.
A lot of times there's the whole like, oh yeah, I don't see color. No one sees color anymore. There's no such thing as racism. There's no more segregation. There's no more racism. But that's not true.
Sometimes because we are in an area where there's a lot more racial tolerance than in other parts of the country and other parts of the world. I feel like we often treat it like it doesn't exist here, like it's not an issue at all.
There's still stereotypes. There's still people who feel bad. There's people that are like hurt all the time and made fun of. There's people getting shot.
History class, we had a big like Socratic seminar at the end of the year, and one of the big topics was like discrimination. And that conversation, I think, was really beneficial for a lot of people because it got them thinking about like the situation that our country's in.
The fact that we have the chance to do things like this, to talk about race in a way that's really open and that we can share with a lot of people, is really incredible to me.
People are willing to listen if you give them a chance and don't have like a prejudgment, oh, no one wants to hear what I have to say.
Already we've improved so much in terms of decreasing racism and being more tolerant of people. And I think we're headed on the right track.